Hi everyone, welcome to ASMR Diary. My name is Jessica, and in today's video, I'm going to be continuing the series of reading Moby Dick. Now, this has been a really interesting book to read. I have to say, we left off on quite a chapter. How interesting. My feelings, my thoughts. I gotta say, reading a whale hunting was quite distressing for me. I'm a big animal advocate and I just hate animal hunting and I hate animal abuse, and that was hard to read. I do know that it was a time in history where, like, you know, hunting these whales really benefited like a lot of people and towns and communities and livelihoods. So I try to like have a little bit of an open mind when I, read these things. I will say though, like hunting for sport and revenge is so stupid. That being said, um, it has still been really, really interesting. I feel like reading this book has really gives me like an insight of what that culture was about, and I'm pretty sure like this is exactly or like pretty close to what it was like being on those like sailing ships, like so interesting and dangerous and dramatic, and like probably not much of a moment's rest, because as I'm reading, I'm like, when do these men sleep? Well, there are times like in between hunts when like they don't see the whales, so I'm sure like they have plenty of time to like eat and sleep and I don't know, do whatever their to their heart's desire, but it's just so interesting and honestly so scary because to my knowledge, a sperm whale is like as big as, is it, what is it, like a school bus or like a couple school buses, or right, is it as big as a football field? I'm not sure, I'll have to double check, but somewhere in between the length and size of a school bus and a football field. So I'm like, how are these men getting in their little tiny canoes and throwing spears at these whales? How are they killing these whales? Like, I just think it's absolutely insane. I will say I did watch The Way of Water, Avatar The Way of Water, and I like there's that scene where they do also hunt the whale, which is absolutely heartbreaking, and why I haven't been able to watch the movie over again, because that scene, as well as you know whose death, just really hurt me. Like I can't do it. But either way, because of that movie, I kind of have like a good idea, or like I was able to really imagine what it was like for them hunting the whale in those previous chapters. But also like in The Way of Water, I think they had like a motorized boat when they were hunting it, and they had like an actual, like not just like a harpoon on a rope. I think they had like better equipment and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's kind of hard like trying to imagine, or not hard, but it's a bit like terrifying imagining like what whale hunting was like back then. And then the fact that like it also could be during a storm and you could get separated from the boat, and like you can literally like get slapped into the ocean by a whale and die. So crazy. But anyways, those are just my thoughts, and I would love to hear some of you guys' thoughts down in the comments below. How are you guys taking this? And yeah, and if you're somebody who hunts, I would love to hear like, I don't know, I guess I'm open to hearing like your feelings and your point of view about this. I would also love to have like a more open discussion about like hunting animals, because I understand that like some people do it out of like a necessity, like this is like their food and this is how they eat and stuff like that. And I know there are some people out there who do respect animals when they hunt, and they don't like overkill and stuff like that. So I would just like love to hear like more opinions and like sides and like point of views to like what this is like. I think in my perfect world, people would still eat animals, unfortunately, but like they would just do it in a more humane and merciful way, and hunting for sport would like absolutely be banned. But anyways, that's just all the thoughts that have been stirred up from reading this book. Let's get on to chapter 10. Oh, my dog was just drinking some water, so if you hear some shuffling around, that is him. He's looking at me now. So yeah, so those are just all my thoughts and feelings about this book, and all the emotions it's dredging up inside of me, and I would love to hear yours. With all that being said, let's get on to the book. Chapter 10. A Meeting at Sea. We killed several whales in the days that followed. Yet, there was no further sign of Moby Dick, or the midnight whale for that matter. If the whales were haunting us, so was Fedallah. He rarely came down from his high perch in the rigging, unless it was to ride out in Ahab's boat. "He'll bring no good to the Pequod," Stubb said to me one day. If I saw him standing by the side of the ship and no one was looking, I'd gladly push him overboard. He's the devil in disguise. "Why does Ahab keep so close to him?" I asked. "They say he has the power of prophecy," replied Stubb. "Perhaps Ahab is just frightened of him. Perhaps he thinks Fedallah will charm Moby Dick to jump into the boat." Our conversation was interrupted by a shout from the masthead. "Sail ho!" cried Daggoo. A ship was approaching. It was a whaler, which turned out to be the Samuel Enderby from London. Captain Ahab ordered all the sails to be taken down and his boat launched. He wanted to talk to the captain of the other ship. I was one of the crew who went with him. Poor Ahab had a great difficulty getting aboard the Samuel Enderby. In the end, he slipped and cracked his leg and had to be dragged aboard. Our one-legged captain was surprised to find himself face to face with a one-armed captain. Captain Mounttop, skipper of the Samuel Enderby, wore a false whalebone arm. "Let us shake whalebones together," said Ahab. "You have an arm that can never bend, and I have a leg that will never run again. Tell me, was it the work of the white whale? Did Moby Dick take your arm?" "It was that brute indeed," replied Captain Mounttop. "And how did Moby Dick introduce himself to you? What happened?" "I don't know exactly," said the English captain. "I was in one of our whaling boats when a harpoon was thrown at the largest creature we had ever seen. He must have got his teeth caught on the harpoon rope, and he was furiously snapping at the line. All I can remember is seeing the beast leap high into the air above me. Then I was knocked unconscious. When I opened my eyes again, I found I was an arm short. The whale's teeth had cut it clean off like a guillotine." "What happened to the white whale?" Ahab inquired eagerly. "What became of him?" "We saw him at least twice more," said Captain Mounttop. "Did you launch the boats after him?" asked Ahab. "Did you attack him? Did you kill him?" "By Jove, we didn't!" exclaimed Mounttop. "Didn't want to. Losing one arm was enough. No more white whales for me. No doubt there would be great glory to be had in killing him, I know that, and the creature would have had a huge load of oil inside him. Yet he will have no more of me. And looking at your whalebone leg, Captain Ahab, I think you should do the same." "Ye gods of the sea," cried Ahab, "you had a chance of killing Moby Dick and you didn't take it. Which way was Moby Dick heading when you last saw him?" "Northwest towards the island of Java," answered the captain. "Then that's where we shall go," said Ahab. "The beast won't escape me, even if I do have to give him my other leg in exchange for his life." Ahab returned to his ship. Soon after, he planted his whalebone leg in its usual pivot hole with disastrous results. The leg, badly damaged by his hard landing on the Samuel Enderby, suddenly split from top to bottom. Ahab screamed with pain as it cut into his hip. "Curses," he cried. "Moby Dick, you will pay for this." The threat echoed across the water to where the Samuel Enderby was just raising sail and about to sail on. "You're mad, Captain Ahab," shouted Captain Mounttop through his bullhorn loudspeaker. "You'll not rest until you have your revenge on the white whale." Never was a truer word said. Chapter 11. The Captain's New Leg. Captain Ahab, having seen off the Samuel Enderby, summoned the ship's carpenter to his cabin. "Mr. Abel, make me a new leg," he demanded, "and don't waste any time in doing it. It must be ready by morning." The fire in the ship's forge was lit for the ship's blacksmith to make iron bolts and straps to secure the false leg. Meanwhile, Abel had taken his saw to what remained of a whale jawbone. From that one piece of bone he carved a fine leg, shaped to match Ahab's living leg. I watched as he worked. "I hope you have the captain's measurements right," I said. "I do," said Abel. "This is not the first new leg I have made for Captain Ahab. Since first losing his leg on his last voyage, he has lived with and broken many other legs. He drives his false legs hard and his real leg even harder." "Does the new leg hurt him when it's strapped to his thigh?" I asked. "Not the false one," replied Abel, "but a dismasted sailor never completely loses that feeling of his real leg that once was. The memory and feeling of it is always there, and I know for a fact that it pains the captain sometimes." A week later, the Pequod reached the South China Sea and was heading north toward the Pacific Ocean. The last few days had been stormy, and Mr. Starbuck had noticed that there was a leakage of some whale oil down in the ship's storage hold. He went to see Captain Ahab. "We'll have to stop the ship for a few days to hunt out the leaks," he said. "It might just be a few barrels. The weather's been hot and the barrel hoops may have loosened." "What?" cried Ahab. "Stop the ship for a few days?" "It's either that," said Starbuck, "or else lose our profit for the voyage." "Why should I care about profit?" said Ahab. "Let the oil leak. Leaky barrels? The ship's just one large leaky barrel. I'll not stop the ship just to find those leaks." "What will the ship owners say?" asked Starbuck. "What will they say if they lose their profit from the voyage?" "They can stand on Nantucket Beach and cry to the winds for all I care," replied the captain. "The real owner of a ship is its captain, and that is me. My profit is Moby Dick's death, not a profit from the oil his relatives give me. Now be gone." "We must stop," insisted Starbuck. Ahab seized a loaded musket and pointed it at Starbuck. "There's only one master on this ship, and that is me," he said quietly. "So unless you want to join the whales, return to the deck and your duties at once." Starbuck retreated through the cabin doorway, but he was still bold enough to make one last comment. "You have every reason to hate Moby Dick," he said. "But you should be aware of yourself, Captain. Ahab should be aware of Ahab." With that, Starbuck was gone. Ahab was puzzled. Why should he be aware of himself? Was he not the captain? Why should he be frightened of himself? Starbuck knew better than most that the captain had become a danger to both himself and the crew of the Pequod. Alright guys, thank you so much for listening. I'm going to stop here for tonight, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!